Hello friends, in this video we are going to learn about difference between list and tuple. This is the most basic question every interviewer asks in an interview to a Python developer. So you must know it. So let's get started. Before we start, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, I request you to subscribe it. This motivates me to make such videos which will help you to crack any interview. So without delay, let's get started. As you can see on my screen, I've declared two variables. One is list and one is tuple. So the first difference in these two is the declaration. How we can declaring and defining list and tuple. So first difference you can say to the interviewer is list is declared with square brackets, whereas tuple is declared with parentheses. So this is the first difference between list and tuple. Second, the most important difference between list and tuple is list is mutable data structure. The tuple is immutable data structure. So what is this mutable and immutable? What is this mutability means? So mutable means once the data is declared or defined, we will be able to change it. So this is basic mutable word means. So in the list data structure, once we create list with some basic elements or we create an empty list, it allows us to add more elements into the list. If list is declared with some data elements into it, we will be able to delete the elements or modify the elements during the execution of program. So this is called mutability. So that's why list is called mutable data structure, whereas tuple is immutable data structure. This means that once tuple is created in the program, it is not allowed to modify it later on in the program execution. Let's see this in a practical way. So let's try to modify list first. So we'll type my list dot append. Let's add 7 here and then print my list. Let's change some messaging first. Modified list, right? Let's copy this line as well and we'll print the initial values as well. We'll just change original list. So now let's try to run this program. So you can see our original list was 1 2 3 4 5 6 and then we tried to append 7 into the list. So 7 is added at the end of the list. So we are able to add element into the list. So now let's try to remove 7 from the list and see what happened. My list dot remove 7 and let's again copy the print statement and print the original list. So let's try to run it. So now you can see on my console output, first it was original list 1 2 3 4 5 6, then we added one item at the end of the list and then we removed the same item from the list. So this is how we are able to modify the list. We can dynamically add and remove elements from the list. Let's try to modify some existing value. So let's copy the statements. So in this case, we don't need to use any method. We can directly use the index. For example, let's try to replace 3. So index for 3 is 2. Now let's try to assign some value 9. Then we'll try to print it. Let's change some message a bit and let's try to execute it now. So you can see here changed list. So it actually modified the third item in the list, which is now 9. So this is happening because list is mutable data structure. We will be able to modify the list during the execution of our program. Now, at the opposite side, my tuple is immutable data structure. That means all these operations are not allowed during the execution of program after the tuple is created. So let's try to use it. So my tuple does not have any append, remove, those kind of methods. It has only two methods, which is count and index. These two methods used to access the elements from the tuple. How we can simulate the modification of any existing item in tuple? Same way as line number 11, how we use index to modify the element, we'll use the same thing here. We access the third element of tuple and we'll try to assign it with 9. Before that, we'll print the same thing, print original tuple, comma, my tuple. Let's copy print statement, modified tuple. Let's see how it goes. Before that, let's comment all this so we don't get any extra out. Save it and let's run it. So here Python will throw an error if we try to modify any element into tuple after it is created. So you can see there is a type error and it is saying the message tuple object does not support item assignment. So this proves the immutable nature of tuple. So you might think, why would we use tuple? If it is not modifiable, if we cannot change it after its creation, why we would use it? For example, you are connecting to a database and you are trying to access some records from the database, right? So when you fire a query, database returns a fixed set of columns which you have requested. So when the record set is returned to the Python program, it will be having list of tuples. Because list is mutable, that's why it is returning a list. Because there will be 100 records at this point of time, but after some time, after few seconds, if you fire the same query, there might be 110 records returned by the database. So list should be the perfect choice to return the record set from the data table. But whatever columns you are trying to fetch from the database, that is not going to be changed, right? Because you are accessing fixed columns from the database. For example, column 1, column 2, column 3. You are accessing only 3 columns from the database table. So that should not be changed during the execution of program once the record set has been returned to your program. Am I right? So in this case, the database record set will be list of tuples. Then there is no meaning of changing data set into the tuple. It's a read-only data. It is not like you will modify the data. Are you getting my point? So that's the best example I can give you for tuple. So you will have more idea about where we can use tuples. When interviewer asks you, tell me the difference between list and tuple, you will be able to better answer it with example.